So this is part 13, and we're going to continue to jump right on in. So, growing up in Florida now, I had, like I said, it was like a total cultural difference. But again, I've always been the type of kid to be able to adjust and adapt. That's one thing I could say is I'm fucking adaptable, and I learned that through having to go through what just having to, live in that fight, flight, freeze, fawn mode all the time. Okay, so I kind of got used to being unpredictable, and change kind of just became a thing. But change was imprinted in my mind as being a negative thing. So I will say that at first. Like, I hated change because I'm like, now my fucking life's about to be fucked up again. Every time something shifts, we're going to start from fucking nowhere now, because like I said, stuff started going downhill after I moved to Florida. Okay, so that's when everything started to go downhill after that. That's why I associated with change with being negative, and I just did not want it to happen. I was like, nah, fuck that. Like, okay, here we go again. Now what the fuck is next? What the fuck am I about to experience? Okay, so that was crazy. Growing up in the schooling system, I got bullied a lot for the way I spoke, for the way I dressed. Again, like, my parents weren't really rich, and that's the thing. My mom, first of all, had to budget with the money, so we would shop a lot at Walmart to get items, because back in the day you can get like 2-piece sets and stuff like that, and they were like really cheap. So my mom used to always make sure that we had the sets, and we were always neat. That was one thing though. My parents grew up in like schooling systems where they had to wear like uniforms and stuff like that, so they kind of tried to imprint that on us. They always wanted to make sure that we were like neat, or they would control what we were wearing, especially me. Being the girl, my father would not let me choose what I wanted to wear. Absolutely not choose what I was going to wear. My father had to choose what I was going to wear no matter what. So that was one thing too that we'll talk about probably later on. But yeah, so that was another thing. Anyways, so we grew up and we didn't have much money. Now after this, I realized, I'm like, damn, we're poor. Now, and my parents would now kind of emanate that and say these things, because that's when I also realized that we didn't have enough money. My mom finally was about to get a job because my dad told her that she needed to now, because we needed her to work because we needed more money. He couldn't do it on his own. We just moved to this new town. He didn't know people and had connections like that yet, so she had to kind of help him out so that we can make sure that we can maintain these places. And back in the day, I'm telling you, I do remember rent really wasn't even that much, because I'm going to tell you in a later video about the house that we lost. It was only $700 a month, and my parents could not afford it. So when we were living at these apartments, they were probably like $400 or $500 a month. And this is when, too, I didn't mention, when we started living in Florida, this is when we started to downsize. This is when we were living in 2 bedrooms. My parents would have the living room, my brothers would have one room, and then I would always have my own room. But again, like, we had to adapt. Yeah, and so this is also where I started to kind of experience, like, not feeling as though anyone like cared about me or was paying attention to me, because I know that, first of all, there were so many times that I would win awards, I would be recognized for things, I'm noticing and remembering things a lot now. I'm like, damn, I actually did a lot of things. I remember even when I went to Florida, like, they would keep scouting me out. They would keep, telling my parents, like, you have an amazing daughter. She's very creative, very talented. I remember writing a book. It got published. My parents could not afford to buy the book. So till this day, I don't even remember what the name of it, but it was published. Because there was like this contest at my school where you could write a book, you illustrate it, and then it will be published. And you could print it out, and they would ship it out, and it happened. But I don't know. I never was able to get it. My parents could not afford it. And yeah, so there's that. We never even was able to afford like the scholastic book fairs and things like that. I used to love books, so the only place that I would be able to go to have fun was the library. My dad would, at least, if it was anything when it came to education or learning, my dad would be like, okay, yeah, you can go. So not to the friend's house. My dad would drop me off at the library so I could go on the computer. I made my first email, I think I was like 8 or 9. I think it was 9. Yeah, my first email that I still have to this day that I use, I made when I was 9, and I still have it till this day. And that was the thing. So I was able to do stuff like that. I was able to go on the computer when the computer started to be a thing. My dad would drop us off at the library for like an hour or two because the computers had like limits and stuff like that. So, but still, that was like the first time I was getting more freedom too, because also my dad, we had a small place, so it's like we were all too close, and it's like we needed to do more things. It was just too much sometimes. So I'm like, I need to do more things. I need to get out, and that's when I started to kind of go to the library more, and yeah, so I fell in love with the library. And but again, like, we were just very poor, and that's when I started to kind of realize that we really didn't have like what all the other kids had. And again, I wasn't really able to do much. So just imagine coming from a different place, not really having any friends, not really able to do much anyways, and then the fact that we moved to a new place, that made my dad even extra paranoid because we didn't know anybody. You know what I mean? So that was even another thing where I'm like, I could go to the library and you'll drop me off there and I could be there alone, but I can't go to other. I couldn't even go to school events. I couldn't go to football games. I couldn't go to nothing. I wasn't able to do that. Even when I wanted to do like after school sports and stuff like that, we only had one car. And at the time too, I forgot to mention this, my mom didn't have a license. My mom did not actually learn how to drive until, because my dad didn't want her to drive. And I'm noticing now, like, it was a pattern of like my dad didn't want my mom to maybe like outshine, you know? But either way, that's going to be part 13. And yeah, so please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments if anything resonated with you or if it sparked a memory within you. Either way, save this video and follow for the next part.